I've gone ahead and cut all these out. So I just cut them out of the graph paper that I put them on, sliced them out, no big deal. Hindsight, since you can actually print this graph paper, I wish that I had printed it on cardstock. That would make these a little heftier and a little easier to deal with. But anyway, I can deal with them. If you're going to do it, it'd probably be a good idea to print them on cardstock. So once we've got them cut out, and if you're going to do something like this, make sure to put the numbers on it so you can put them back together again. The next thing I'm going to do is kind of lay them out here so that I can maximize the use of my foam board. Alright, so you see I've got a nice little tight configuration here. I can just tack these onto the foam board and cut them out. Now, I'm really not that smart. I cheated and I've done this ahead of time, so don't feel bad if it takes you longer than 10 seconds to do this, because it did me too. So this is a lot of pattern stuff. Now, do you need a pattern for every building you're going to build? No. If you're doing just a corner of some ruins of a building or something, just cut it out. You don't need all this stuff. Now, I of course used a bigger piece of foam core than this. I've already cut this out, but I'm going to show you how I did this. I just kind of do it a row at a time. So I'm going to get these out of the way. We'll pretend, for the sake of argument, that this is a full piece of foam core. And we're just going to lay these out. Get some stick pins. Just regular old sewing stick pins. Try to get on the square corner of these things. Get them as squared up as you can on the corner. What you're trying to do is reduce the number of cuts you have to make. This will go faster. And then just pin these things down. It's not really hard. You would of course pin this next to it. And I just took a blade and get a straight edge. Don't just try to freehand along the pattern. Actually get a metal ruler or a square or something, put it there, and just slice this across that way, and slice it across this way. When you're done cutting it out, you can take the pattern off, but before you take the pattern all the way off, lift it up and put the number from your pattern piece on this piece, or you're going to have a pile of foam core and you're not going to have a clue how to put it back together. Okay guys, so I've got some of the foam core here. This isn't all the pieces, just a few of them, but it's enough to show you what we're going to do next. Before we do that though, okay, I've picked up all my pattern pieces, and what you want to do with these, especially if you know you're going to be making more of these later, just get a paper clip, put them on here, get one of these 3-ring binder sheet protectors, stick them in there, cut out your original drawing that you had that was basically the map of your stuff, cut it out, tape it on the outside of your sheet protector, and stick it in the 3-ring binder that I know you have at your work area where you keep all your paint formulas and your ideas for new projects and all that kind of stuff. Probably also be a good idea to just stick a little piece of scotch tape up here at the top, so if you accidentally turn this upside down, your pattern pieces don't fall out. Anyway, good idea to keep those things. So, now the next thing we're going to need is our foam core pieces. Now you can see I haven't actually cut the windows out yet. I'd cut them out of the patterns, and I just traced them on here with a pencil. And we'll get to those in a little while. Need some masking tape or painter's tape. That's good. The most important thing that you're going to need is one of these cutting mats. Why? We're not using a knife for this. We're not cutting anything. Why do you need this? Well, the reason you need this is because it's got all these nice little squares that are perfectly 90 degrees. So when you're going to set up your walls and line up your walls, you know where things are. So, here's what we're going to do. What I do is I dry fit this stuff together with some painter's tape first. So I need my little map to show me where all the pieces go. That's why I numbered them. So I can just put them together like this. tape them together. Now we're going to set the whole thing up like this, and as I'm going around to make sure things stay square, I'm actually going to tape it down to the cutting board. And that way, when I get around to the other side, I don't have things going out of square on me. I do this, I'm not going to glue these together yet. I'm going to dry fit the whole thing, and the reason I do that is to make sure everything fits. I've got all the pieces I need. I check out whether I'm going to want more windows or put the door in a different place. That's why I haven't cut them out yet. It gives me a better idea of how to, gives me a better ability to see the whole project first and make decisions now. What would suck is if I glued all this stuff together, got around to the last piece, and realized I'd cut this one wrong, and I have to do the whole thing again. So dry fit it together first, because you know the masking tape's easy to take apart. Now we're going to talk about one other little thing here that you're going to want to probably do. I always do this when I'm building buildings out of foam core, and that is called rabbiting. Not like the hoppy, furry-tailed bunny stuff. Basically what it is cutting the edge off of this, cutting the foam down so you just have an outside edge so that these pieces fit nice together. If you don't do that, what you end up with is a corner that looks like this, and it's going to be really hard to cover that up. See? So what you do is you rabbit this stuff like this, and then you can fit it in there, and then your corner is nice and clean. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really pretty simple. Get a little scrap piece, and what you do is, since you want it to be the thickness of this, you stand up the side that you're going to rabbit, get yourself a pencil, draw a line, okay? So you know that's how much you gotta cut out there. Then you get yourself, well, sure wish I'd remember to pick up all my tools before I started this. Alright, so you get yourself straight edge, line it up. Now you really want to try to be careful with this and be accurate with this thing, because if you go too far in, you're going to have stuff hanging over the edge. If you don't go far enough, then your other piece won't fit in good and it'll be hanging over the edge. So you really need to try to be accurate with this cut as much as you can. So get it lined up. Now when you cut, do a light cut first just to break the surface board, and try to go about half to 3/4 of the way through. You don't want to even cut all the way to the board, and you don't need to cut all the way through the foam either. Then you can use a rather short knife so it doesn't split on you, and be careful with this, but you can just peel off that part. Get that all cleaned out of there. It's really easy to do. And then just scrape along to get any of the remaining foam off. And there you go. Easy, nice, simple, quick. Now they make a special tool for this, a rabbiting tool. It'll cost you about 20 bucks, and I can't figure out why in the hell you would want to spend 20 bucks on something that I just did in 10 seconds. But, you know, if that's the way you want to go that route. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and lay out this thing, get it all dry fitted, and then we'll come back and take a look at it. Alright guys, for this segment we're going to do a little shaky cam here. Alright, so I dry fitted this all together. You can see it's fairly good and square there. Everything's nice and lined up. Now you'll notice, see if I can get like here, we've got some rabbiting on the corners there. This will look a little better when it's all glued and nice. I didn't rabbit this one. The reason is it's an inside corner. even if I rabbited it, it would look like that, so there's really no point in spending the time. Now, I'm going to tell you that it's a real good thing that I dry fit this together, because I had cut this piece too long, and so this gap in here was really narrow. So I had to take this back apart, part of this back apart, and cut this piece back a little bit so that this wouldn't be sticking out so far and I'd have enough room to make some steps up here. Secondly, I'd cut this piece too short and there was a big old gap right here. So I had to take this piece off and recut it a little bit longer. But since I dry fit all this together, that wasn't really a big deal, and then I could actually measure this to find out exactly what I needed so I wouldn't goof it up again. So now we've got to make some decisions. See, I've got windows and some doors and windows kind of scribed in there. We need to make some decisions about how we're going to use this. Now, first off, I need to make a floor piece for in here. This is going to be like a little patio area, so I'm going to have to make a floor piece for in there. I know I want that area to be playable, so I'm going to have a door here, steps up here, door, a little patio area to be playable. We need to make a decision about, do we want the rest of this to be playable or not? If I'm going to make the rest of it playable, since this is a two-story building, do I want to make just the second story playable? Or at this point, probably making the first story playable is not really an option, because to do that I'd probably have to slice this all in half so that it can be lifted up. So now I could actually make a removable floor here to make the first story playable. I'm not going to go that far with this thing. I'm just going to put a roof on this, and this is going to be really the only playable area. The rest of it's just going to be decoration. The other thing we have to decide, and we got to decide this now, am I actually going to cut out the windows, or am I just going to like paint them black and frame them? If I cut them out, I'm going to have to do something back here, or you're just going to see a bunch of empty stuff on the inside. So if I cut them out, I'm probably going to have to put a floor in here. It's some extra work, but just painting them black, if I'm going to go to this level of detail on things, just painting them black, I don't think it's going to be good enough. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put a floor in here. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'll put a little bit of work on this part of the floor where you're going to see it through the window, and we'll do it that way. I also need to decide if I want some more windows on the back walls here, because I've got no windows on these two walls. I've got a window here, two here, and then this door, and there's going to be a door down here, like a main door, to get into the building. I think we probably ought to put some windows on these walls, because I think that would look just kind of silly not to have windows there, which means I'm going to have to do some decent amount of work on the inside of the building. So anyway, there's the dry fit. If you're going to cut out your windows, make sure you cut them out before you glue this together, because it's going to be a real pain to try to cut them out while this is standing up. So that's it for this segment. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you next time.